Good shot. Oh my!
Here to celebrate Georgetown, the Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions!
The Trenton Golden Hawks, the R7 Hewitt Cup champions, are going to Coburg.
Back to Minerva. Shot scores! And the Coburg Cougars are the Royal Bank Cup champions!
The rematch. West Division leading Georgetown hosted the South front-running Toronto Patriots for the second time in a week. All the highlights are coming up. This is DOJ Today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. Tons to get caught up on this week. Alex Bloomfield will join me to break down the playoff race happening in the East Division with Kingston hot on the heels of Wellington right now. Also, the Georgetown Raiders captured their first Buckland Cup in franchise history last season, and we'll have an in-depth look at how things are going this year for G-Town with a feature story today. But first, OJ game highlights, and all season long, it's been a three-way battle at the top for North Division supremacy. Lately, though, Aurora has broken away from the pack and padded its lead. Now, second-place Newmarket was attempting to cut into that last Thursday at Ray 20 Arena. OJ highlights now brought to you by Cool Sports, official apparel provider to the OJHL.
The Tigers with a 5-point lead over the Canes heading into this big tilt, and they hit just 46 seconds in. Christian Hovsky makes the original stop. Zach Wilkie follows up, and Aurora jumps out to the 1-0 lead. The Canes laying the body. Cole Thiessen flattens Jacob Katsopoulos. Beautiful open ice hit. Second period. Newmarket fights back. Jack Irvine the save. Alex Iarrulo cleans up the garbage. All tied up at 1 apiece. Bad luck for the Canes, though. 3 minutes later, Jake Bricknell puts it home. But did you see what happened? Take another look. Puck takes a redirection off the official's leg right to the Tigers, and ouch. That is a tough goal to give up. But once again, the Canes equalize. Claudio De Gasperis takes the feed, shelves it. It's a 2-2 hockey game. No scoring in the third, so this one went to overtime.
Oh, this was chipped around. We've got a dangerous position here. Here's Ramsey. Ramsey now. Back. Shot scores! Scores! In overtime, an absolute dandy by Iarrulo.
Anthony Regan with the call. Iarrulo, his second of the game as Newmarket continues its pursuit of Aurora for first in the North. Okay, maybe the fiercest rivalry in the league. Trenton, Coburg. This one was a barn burner. Jacob Black. Great solo effort. Beats Will Roski, and the Cats jump out to the 1-0 lead. Back and forth they went all night, though. Matt Nastiuk with some nasty moves himself here. In it goes. And it was 1-1 at the first intermission. Second period, the red light getting a workout. 2:16 in. Christopher Carabasas gives the Hawks their first lead of the game. And they're up 2-1. 6 minutes later, though, watch the shot by Jacob Ball from a bad angle. Redirects off of Trenton stick and in. Awkward, but it's tied at 2. Then it's the other Jacob, Mr. Black. We'll see you now. One-timer past Roski. And the Cougars back on top. It's 3-2. The pendulum swings once again, though. Max Ewart, Roof Daddy past Jorgen Janssen. All knotted up at 3 apiece. Just 40 seconds later, though, Michael Severi, the steal, feeds Gage Stepney. He bulges the twine. Fans definitely getting their money's worth in this one. Third period, the Cats strike back. Matthew Bumstead floats one in from the point to beat the screen keeper. Tie game. And then in the dying seconds,
25 seconds left in the period. Puck rolls over to Ball. It's a breakaway. Jacob Ball and alone scores! Jacob Ball! The go-ahead goal with 18.8 seconds left, and it's 5-4.
A huge win for the Cougars in dramatic fashion. Okay, Oakville hosting St. Mike's. Pick it up in the first with the Blades leading 1-0. St. Mike's Dylan Jackson ties it up at 1 apiece, and then 32 seconds later, Tyler Busillo just will keep jamming away at the side of the net here and finally hit pay dirt buzzers with their first lead of the game, up 2-1. Second period, though, Oakville cranks it up a notch. Thomas Maya, the future RIT Tiger, deflects it home, and it's tied up at 2 apiece. And then Flint Firebird prospect Eric Uba collects another juicy rebound and puts it past Jack Watson to give the Blades the lead. Joseph Javenko, however, one of the plays of the week here. Dipsy Doodle Dandy right through the Blades and past Chris Elliott. Even Steven, it's 3-3. Just before intermission, though, it's Uba with his second of the evening. The Wendell Clark special here past Watson. Now, for you kids out there, Clarkie had the best wrist shot in the game for a while. Uba does him proud. 4-3 for Oakville at that point. Jack Ricketts adds an empty netter in the third for some insurance to make it a 5-3 Blades final. Oakville continues to chase the Pats for first in the South. The Scotiabank Fan Favorite Award is back. Our top 10 in voting right now, Jakubowski of Buffalo, Jackson Camp, Braden Aubin, Jack Ricketts, Justin Paul of Georgetown now in there, as well as we also see Mac Lewis of Trenton, Max Ewart of Trenton, Tiger McDonald, also of the Golden Hawks, Jonah Capriotti, and Mitch Mendonca of Wellington. Head to ojhl.ca to cast your vote for your favorite player. OJ commitments for this week. 3 to tell you about. Joey Maziarz of the North York Rangers, the outstanding D-man to Mercyhurst. Hudson Lambert, a defenseman from Orangeville, headed into Canisius. And Andrew Court of the Raiders is going to be a Hamilton Continental. Congrats, guys. OJ trivia for you old-timers out there. What year did the Aurelia Travelways win the Centennial Cup? That goes back a bit. R. Morocco at the ojhl.ca. First correct answer wins a prize pack.
Hey folks, welcome back to the OJ Today. Happy to have our regular contributor, the play-by-play man for the Pickering Panthers, but a man who knows the OJ inside out, Alex Bloomfield, joining me again on the show. Today we're going to discuss the East Division and what's happening in the playoff race. Alex, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
Interesting, the East to say the least, where at one point earlier in the season, Wellington was just running away with this thing. And now, since not playing as well in the second half of the season, which we'll get to in a moment, but teams have narrowed the gap, specifically Kingston. But it's been an interesting change from the first to the second half of the season, hasn't it been?
Yep, very close battle of the 3 teams near the bottom and the 2 teams at the top, for sure. They've definitely tightened those races up, and that's the great thing. It's not the East we saw last year at all. All these teams went through some big rebuilds, at least pretty much everyone but Kingston did in this division, and it's really made for an interesting playoff preview type thing where you're not sure. Like, someone who could end up in the lower seeds could be one of those top seeds within the division itself if they do match up with each other and not with the North. And yeah, it's kind of it's good for parity in the league, and yeah, it's going to be an exciting finish.
Absolutely. Let's start with the Dukes then. As mentioned, first half of the season, Wellington was wrecking shop. They were the top team in the entire OJHL. They've lost, I'm looking at my stats here, dropped 8 of their last 15 right now. Aurora surpassed them for the #1 seed in the Northeast. What's up with Wellington, in your opinion?
The coaching change of recent, how many times have we seen a first-place team go through a coaching change? Obviously, there's politics behind the scene there we won't get into, and obviously I'm sure we won't know all the reasons behind that for a little while longer. But yeah, I think that's the big reason why the Dukes have taken a bit of a step back. I also think there was a little bit of consensus around the league. This team was a bit overplaying what they were early in the season. People were surprised this team was as good as they were. Thought they were going to be taking a bit of a step back after some key players they lost last year. So a little bit of coming back to earth, and I think mostly off-ice distraction contributing to a team that's probably still going to get first in the division. And anytime you have to go to Wellington in a playoff series, it's going to be tough to knock them off. Also, one of the youngest teams in the league there as well, which can, as the season goes on, lack of experience can show a bit. Kingston now, as mentioned, hot on the Dukes' heels. They were sitting around the 500 mark for a good portion of the early part of the season. They've really turned it on over the last little bit. Checking the stats here, not just lost 2 of their last 10 and only 6 points behind the Dukes. It's going to be tough to make up that difference as we've only got a couple of weeks left, but still great performance by Kingston so far heading down the stretch, hasn't it been? Yeah, they've been very steady, one of the most consistent teams in the OJHL. And yeah, you're right, they picked it up a little bit of late. And I think that's just honestly getting, they've been consistent with their schemes, consistent with their systems, and they're just getting better at playing them. One of those teams that didn't have a lot of turnover at the trade deadlines or at the roster deadline. A lot of returning players from last year, and just they work great together. Obviously, if you have 9 forwards with over 10 goals, I don't think anyone else can really boast of that in the OJHL. Just an incredible veteran offensive team that can put the puck in net all 4 lines, really, and 3 for sure. Yeah, one of the tough teams to stop up front offensively.
Talk about veteran-laden teams. Coburg was that last year, and of course, that's one of the reasons they were the RBC champs, national champions, the Coburg Cougars. I still love saying it, but not a lot was expected of Coburg this year with so much roster turnover. But the Cougars, I think, have surprised a lot of people. Getting Jerome Dupont as the head coach back in early November really started to turn things around for that squad. And right now, they're sitting 3rd in the division and looking pretty good, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and if they can get a decent first-round playoff matchup, I might be on them for getting out of that first round. They've been playing well of late. They have some veteran defensemen. That's kind of the key for them right now. Matthew Bumstead being the captain there, and he's certainly a guy they can really depend on, one of the best defensemen in the OJHL. So yeah, I think that's where their core kind of lies right now. Forward group up front, again, not so much of a threat compared to some other teams in the Northeast, but hey, the playoffs sometimes can be won with the back end as well, and if they can find out who they want to start a goal, I mean, they've been going back and forth a little bit. Elliot Girth thought he might grab it there, but Jorgen Johnson's hanging around as well, so they have to decide who they're going to put in the playoffs, I think. Got to pick a number 1, but yeah, that's about one thing remaining for Coburg to figure out. They're looking pretty good going into the playoffs.
Yeah, if the playoffs started today, the Trenton Golden Hawks would be your 8th seed. Now, that's another team who obviously had a lot of roster turnover this year. Last season's Dudley Hewitt Cup champions. But I'll tell you what, 23-22, the record at the moment. Of course, that'll change over the next few days. This year, the 8th seed, not going to be a pushover. Now, of course, Newmarket wasn't last year as well. But last year, Newmarket had a record well below 500. They did well to take the Golden Hawks to 6 games. But Trenton is going to be a very strong 8th seed, aren't they?
Yes, Trenton will be certainly a team that likely Aurora won't be able to look past. They're certainly going to have to address it. And going to Trenton, just like going to Wellington, tough in a playoff series. I imagine they'll take a couple games if they do end up 8th, but don't forget they could easily end up a little higher than that. I think that's definitely their focus right now. Looking at their schedule versus Pickering's schedule sitting in 7th right now, and a team like Coburg even. Coburg looks like they're going to be able to hold on at least 6th place, but I think Trenton, that's got to be their goal right now. Get out of facing Aurora. Same with Pickering, hold on and don't face Aurora. Because that's certainly the team to beat in the Northeast right now. That's the trouble with the 8th spot. Yeah. So these Golden Hawks, they can do it, I think, based on the schedule remaining and Pickering's schedule remaining. It doesn't have any more home games left. So yeah, just be aware of those Golden Hawks getting into 7th. Yeah. They could do some damage.
There's a lot of positioning that could obviously change over the next few days, as you mentioned. We've got about 45 seconds. Give me a comment on Whitby, because they had an incredibly difficult start to the season this year that really put them behind the 8 ball. The last time we chatted, just after New Year's, there was a chance it looked like they could possibly sneak up into that 8th playoff spot, which Pickering was holding on to at the time. It doesn't look like it's going to be the case now. It just shows how tough it is to come back after such a slow start, isn't it?
They made a good push for sure. I think that was good for the whole group in general, especially the players that will return next year, be in some important games for at least a few weeks there. I think the writing was on the wall when they got rid of Nate McDonald at the trade deadline. I think they realized, hey, we don't really want to slip in and face Aurora in the first round. Let's just do this next year kind of thing. And the Panthers also finished pretty strongly through January there, so kind of erased any of their chances. But yeah, this Whitby team's a good turnover in the middle of the season there. I think they can have a strong finish still and be happy with the results they put on the board despite missing the playoffs here. And obviously that really slow start. They bounced back quite a bit really from that opening not great start to the season.
Alex, always appreciate it. We'll have you back on to talk in the playoffs in just a couple of weeks. Thanks so much for joining us, buddy. More OJ Today coming up in just a moment. Hey folks, welcome back to the OJ Today. Well, 2 weeks ago, the Patriots and Raiders gave us a preview of what the Southwest Final could possibly look like. The South leading Toronto Pats took on West leaders Georgetown in what turned into an epic slugfest as the two top teams fought to a 3-3 stalemate. Just a week later, the squads went head-to-head once again from Alcott Arena.
And this was like deja vu all over again. You had to see it to believe it. Last week, the Raiders went up 3-0 before the Pats came back to tie it. This time, 5:54 in, Zach Elson gets things started for the Raiders, 1-0. Late in the period, it's another Zach attack as Elson charges in from the point. 1 times it home. Raiders looking good, up 2-0. Okay, skip ahead to the third after a scoreless second. It's Big Matt McJanet with the tip out front. Raiders in control, up 3-zip in the third. What could possibly go wrong, you might ask? And once again, the wheels fall off. Pats, shorthanded no less, get the comeback started with 6.5 minutes left. Graham McLean wraps it home to cut the deficit to 3-1. 59 seconds later, G-Town looking disorganized in its own end. Adam Patrick will put it in past Troy Tampano to make it 3-2, and then you know what's coming here. Petrucci goes to work.
We're going to have to watch when Fassel will go to the bench. You know he will for the extra attacker. It worked last week, but maybe they won't need it. Here goes Patrick. In deep Lapid. Out front, they score! It's the sniper Petrucci going up high into Pano. And for the second straight week, the Patriots overcome a 3-goal deficit to tie it at 3.
Alan Corkum with the call. Unreal. 2 weeks in a row, same scenario. If these two teams meet up in the playoffs, watch out. Okay, Stouffville visiting Aurora. Call the paramedics. This one was a beatdown. Cats hit early and off in 48 seconds, and Jake Bricknell. Tigers out to the 1-0 lead. Bricknell just continues to toy with the spirit. Top 5 nominee here. Jake, so smooth. The Howitzer makes it 2-0 Aurora just a minute 20 into the game. The Cats were relentless with the score 3-0. Elijah Gonzalez knocks home the second chance. 5-zip Tigers at the break. Second period, they keep it coming.
Thompson, nice move by James Thompson, and score! James Thompson with a highlight reel goal, and the Tigers lead 5-0.
Kevin Dean with the call. Stouffville does get one back. Jacob Breckles floats one in from the point, but the Tigers would go on to add 3 more. Aurora gaining steam down the stretch as the playoffs approach, and it'll be tough to catch them for the first seed in the Northeast.
Well, every point is essential right now for the Orangeville Flyers as they close out their regular season. And the Flyers currently hold down the 8th and final postseason spot in the Southwest. But hot on their tail are the Burlington Cougars, just 3 points behind. And crucially, they've got 2 games in hand. So the Flyers were desperate to grab points and put a bit more distance between them as they visited the Junior Canadians last Sunday.
The goal for the Flyers, get at least a single point if possible. Canadians strike first, though, midway through the opening frame. Jason Pinio with the snipe, 1-zip JRC. Second period, Flyers tie it up. Top 5 nominee here, Evan Stahl. Now that is a backhand. Just turns and roofs it past Dalton Ewing, and it's all tied up at 1 apiece. 5 minutes later, though, this is what the scouts were there to see. Jack McBain, strong to the net, wills it home. Beautiful goal. JRC's back on top. It's 2-1. Once again, though, the Flyers hit back. Rocco Andreacci right off the draw. 2-2 at the intermission. Third period, Habs on the power play. Pinio, the wrister, right there, his second of the game, and Toronto retakes the lead. But with the net empty, 43 seconds left, Vincent Bonaiuto ties it up. And then they nearly win it. Dan Bernal on the break in the dying seconds. Dalton Ewing with the robbery, though, losing his mask in the process. So it was off to OT. Jack McBain to Pinio for the Hattie and the game winner as the Junior Canadians grab the W. The Flyers at least get a single point, though, in the process. The day before, JRC's got spanked by the Patriots. This was a bloodbath. It started 27 seconds in. Michael Boucher bangs it home. 1-zip Patriots. 5 minutes later, Max Rutledge grabs his first of 2 goals in the period, and it's 2-0 Pats. It was 3-0 at the break. Second frame, top 5 nominee, Adam Petrick to Nicholas Favaro, shorthanded, the snipe. 4-0 Pats. The carnage continued in the third. 5-0 when Jackson Alexiev feeds Petrick. He tickles the twine. 6-0. And the final dagger here. Petrick nabs his second of the game. Roof Daddy. This one was painful. 7-0 final. Pats goalie Tyler Fassel only had to make 17 stops for the shutout and was obviously happy with how his team performed on the evening.
And I felt in the first half I had to make a couple good saves to keep us in it, but then after that our offense just took over, and obviously it was a good win against a good divisional opponent.
Okay, the players of the month were announced for January, brought to you by Cool Sports, official apparel provider to the OJHL. Josh LeBlanc named Cool Northeast Player of the Month. Huge month for the Kingston V's. Andrew Petrucci of the Pats named Cool Southwest Player of the Month. And Nathan Torkia of Georgetown, look at that record, 7-0-0 for January, named Goaltender of the Month. The standings, as we see the North now, and the little X means those teams have qualified for the playoffs now. Aurora, Newmarket, Markham, Pickering, all in the North. In the East, Wellington with a 6-point lead over second place Kingston, followed by the Cougars and the Trenton Golden Hawks. Whitby out of it now. To the South we go, the Pats on top with a slim lead over North York and Oakville, followed by the JRCs, St. Mike's, and the Mississauga Chargers with 39 points. And in the West, Georgetown, a comfortable lead over Buffalo now, followed by Orangeville and Burlington still battling it out for that last spot. And Milton with 9 points on the season so far.
Hey folks, welcome back to DOJ Today. Well, last season was a momentous one for the Georgetown Raiders as the team captured their first Buckland Cup in franchise history and came within a single goal of reaching the RBC. This year, the Raiders had to reload after losing several key contributors to the NCAA ranks. But once again, G-Town finds itself among the league's elite with designs on another long playoff run this year. More on the Raiders now in this week's team report, brought to you by Cliff Bar, official energy bar and sports nutrition food of the OJHL.
There's a face-off, it comes in. You can celebrate Georgetown. The Georgetown Raiders are Buckland Cup champions.
That was a historic moment for the Georgetown Raiders franchise. After years of coming close, the perennial contenders finally captured the OJHL title after an epic 7-game series against the Trenton Golden Hawks. Unfortunately for them, the Hawks would get their revenge 2 weeks later by defeating G-Town in the Dudley Hewitt Cup final for the right to advance to the RBC. But for the Raiders, it was still an incredible season.
We knew we had a really strong team going into the year. We knew we had a chance going into it. Our goal was the RBC, but we won the league, and that was just a surreal feeling.
It was great winning in the finals. Like, Game 7 was huge. The stands were packed, and it was like a once-in-a-lifetime feeling for me. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
This season, the Raiders are once again contenders, leading the West Division and challenging for the #1 seed in the Southwest Conference. This, despite losing numerous key contributors from last year's team to the NCAA and major junior ranks. The Raiders have continued to excel, despite a few bumps in the road.
Our team, we've been doing really well lately. We went through a bit of a lull. We lost 6 straight, which, I think helped our team, our team's motivation, our team's skill in general.
We're a very good team. Our defense is extremely good. Our goaltending is, in my opinion, the best in the league. And in our forward group, I mean, we've got the D'Agostino McGinn court line that's really coming on, and then you got Crocker and Smith and Hampton and some of our young guys that are really starting to come into play here. Justin Paul is really improved his 200-foot game this year, and Josh Nixon. And the problem right now is that we're having is the injury bug, and so we're going through a little adversity. Obviously, DeBoski's been out forever, and he was arguably, one of the top defensemen in the league when he got hurt. So we're hoping to get him back and for the playoffs. And
Andrew Cord is in his 5th and final season with the team and currently leads the squad in scoring, along with former Barrie Colt Jason Smith.
Yeah, Andrew's had a really great season this year. Last year he was definitely in the leadership role, but with Jack and Dickey there, he wasn't as much of a leader. Well, this year he's the main guy we go to. He's our head guy. He leads us in points every game.
Oh, Smitty, yeah. Smitty's a great guy and a huge pickup. He adds a lot of offense to our team, power play and just regular play. The guy can shoot, like, probably the best on our team. He's been a huge addition to our scoring for sure. Definitely a great addition.
Jonathan Hampton is another veteran standout.
He knows what it takes to win along with our other veteran players, so I think that's definitely an advantage we have over other teams is our veteran guys that, you know, have rings, so it's definitely going to be a good year.
Reigning National Junior A Coach of the Year Greg Walters has quite possibly the best goaltending duo in the league. 17-year-old Nathan Torkia is committed to the Oshawa Generals for next season, and veteran Troy Timpano was picked up at the trade deadline after leading the Erie Otters to the OHL championship last year. And once Zach Dybowski returns, he'll join a deep defense core. 6'8" rear guard Jake Payette has turned into a gem. Veterans Austin Cho and Zach Elson are rock solid, along with another major junior pickup.
Andrew Cortson, he's been great for us. You know, he at times, you know, he'll try to make that one extra move, but when he keeps it simple, he's so big, he's so strong, he's physical, he skates like a pro, he's got an unbelievable shot, he sees the ice extremely well. Matt McJannet, he's been great the last 2 weeks. You know, he had a tough start with injury, but arguably been one of our best players here down the stretch.
So can the Raiders repeat as Buckland Cup champs this year? There's consensus throughout the league that there's no one dominant team as in years past, leaving the door wide open in the chase for the title.
So I think going into playoffs, we're right where we need to be. We're up right now. We're winning lots of games. Everyone's playing really well. Everyone knows the systems, which is huge. And I think if we bring it every game in playoffs, we'll be right where we need to be.
Okay, before we go, the top 5 brought to you by Chaos, the official hat provider to the Ontario Junior Hockey League. Number 5, Jake Bricknell of Aurora, just toying with Stouffville here. The Tigers' leading scorer, making it look way too damn easy there. Number 4, another incredible comeback by the Patriots against Georgetown. Beautiful passing. Andrew Petrucci, the finish. Number 3, Newmarket against Aurora. Overtime. Owen Ramsey back to Alex Iarula for the dramatic OT winner in the Battle of Yonge Street. Number 2, Coburg's Jacob Black with the Dipsy Doodle Dandy against Trenton. What a goal in the huge Cougars win. And number 1, Mr. McBain, Jack that is, too strong, charging through Orangeville. Nice goal in the JRC's big win. That is our Chaos Play of the Week. And we've got to run, folks. All out of time for this week, but just remember to keep up to date with the OJHL. All your news, stats, standings, and stories, you can always head to ojhl.ca. And of course, you've got all your social media options to check out there as well. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next week.